Hello, welcome to the energy update for January 2021. I'm Lee, and every month I take the pulse of what's showing up energetically, psychologically, emotionally. And a few of the themes we're going to look at for January are the beginning, birthing period of the new energy that we are moving into as a world, which will take place over the next few years. How creative endeavors are going to be a huge theme for you and for all of us in the coming years, and also how the chaos that is going on outside us is adding to and creating this transformational shift that we are now in as a world. Stay tuned for the full update. Hey everybody, welcome to 2021, the beginning not just of a new year, but in many ways, the beginning of a whole new energetic era on Earth. I actually did a full-length 90-minute annual energy update, which really looked at some of the themes that are going to come up, not just for this whole year, but for the years to come. So if you're interested in checking that out, you can use the link underneath this video to find the replay of my annual energy update, and that's free. So just go to the link underneath the video. And if you are a regular and you enjoy my work and my videos, we put out about 4 new videos every week, free on YouTube. So do hit subscribe so that you're notified when you get new ones. But now let's look at the beginning of this year. It's hard to isolate January in certain ways because when we went through the December solstice at the end of 2020, we walked into a whole new era on the planet, astrologically as well as energetically. And so much of January, the focus for you and for all of us is going to be getting used to those new energies, but on a very energetic and metaphysical level. It's not that things won't be happening in the outside world, but for those of you who are sensitive to energy, see January and February as very important gestation periods for this new wave of energy and coherence that we have coming onto the planet. It affects all of us. Some are more conscious of it than others, but one of the things that it is ushering in is a new period on Earth where all that is not heart coherent or possessed of heart energy, at least to some degree, is going to have a very rocky ride. Now, this is something that we're already seeing on the planet. It's been going on for the last 4 or 5 years in a rising way, but the next 2-3 years, we're going to continue to see this chaotic clash between heart energy and anything that is coming from a place that is devoid of heart or devoid of compassion for other humans, other living beings, and the planet itself. We're entering into a very serious part of the transformation phase that we're going through as a world. And many of us won't be here to see the final fruits of that because we're very much a bridge generation. We're a generation who are moving from an old world to a new world. So we are all human and soul, which means that we have a soul mission and a soul purpose here that we came here to experience and to carry out. But equally, we are human beings, and we're all influenced by all of the other human beings who have raised us, loved us, challenged us, taught us. And that truth is going to get more and more apparent on the planet as a whole for everybody over the next decade or so, as we start to come back to understanding how we are universal beings as well as human beings. But that's kind of a broad stroke. And the reason I bring that broad stroke in is that many of you will be deeply feeling this, and it will be very much your mission to help others access that for themselves in the years to come. Equally, there will be many of you who are boots on the ground, really helping the old to transition, because we all have the old in us. You know, it's a continuum of energy. So we're all burning off old parts of who we are as human beings and who we have been as a collective together. And it's very important to remember that as much as you can. I'm very aware, and I'm with you, I've had the same moments where it can be very triggering to see people behaving in certain ways or to see certain people's agendas being pushed into the world. And for sure, if you get triggered by those experiences, go through what you feel. Let the feelings come out. Let them move through you, because they will move through you very quickly if you allow them out. And many of us were taught to suppress these feelings, or collectively, we have just buried them. So this is a really energetically alive time where emotions are concerned, but we're in the very early stages of more worldwide emotional awareness. So it's messy, and it does mean people are feeling things very deeply. People might be throwing their feelings at one another. But the reason I'm bringing this up is there can be a tendency for us as humans, and I've certainly seen this in the last year, to be very black and white about certain people, certain groups, and their possibilities and ability to transform. I don't know about you, but at this age, I look back at things and I see how, wow, I'm doing better with that now than I was 20 years ago. And so is the same true for many people on the planet right now whom you might not agree with or believe in. So rather than fighting them or pushing against them, hold space for them to also transform. Now, there's a line, right? Because when somebody is really bringing a very dark or very heart disconnected agenda to you or to the planet as a whole, that is going to be a different thing for you to navigate. And I'm not saying that stuff is always easy. And there are some of us who are here to really be on the front line with that fight. And there are others, you might not be a frontline person. You might be seeing things, witnessing things, adding your voice to things, holding space for it to change. But in general, it's really important for us to remember that we as humans can transform, especially those who we think can't or won't, and to come from that place of possibility. Very different, by the way, to if you're in an abusive or toxic relationship. You know, if you're in one of those, holding space for their transformation at your own expense is usually not a good idea. You have to make sure that you're okay before you hold space for that person to transform, or that they can look after you enough that you can stay in the relationship for the transformation. But I digress. That's a whole other topic. But the reason I bring that in is it's going to be a very sensitive couple of months, January and February. So those of you who are deeply sensitive, you're going to want to step back a little bit if you can, as much as you can. You're going to want to quiet down, go within, and allow the energy that's now coming into you and through you to feed you from up here, rather than necessarily ricocheting off how it's affecting everybody else. So it doesn't mean disconnect from the people that are giving you sustenance, but it does mean be very mindful, especially in January and February, of what you're exposing yourself to, who you're exposing yourself to, and how it's making you feel, because that will be the tell. Your feelings will be very sensitive right now, but they will be going between, taking in some very strong new energy that's hitting you, and of course, in order to make space for that to happen, letting go of the stuff that you no longer need. And as we know, letting go can be everything from a joyous feeling of release to a very painful, I'm going to hold on to this. Oh my God, I need to cry this out a bit more. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm back 7 years ago in my body. But the good news is, and this is something that I'm sure most of you and we are experiencing now, those of us who tune in for these kinds of videos anyway, it's getting faster to transmute the shadow. So it's getting faster to let the old energy go. So don't be too worried if in the last year or so you're like, oh my God, I thought I'd got over this stuff. Welcome to 2020. I mean, 2020 was a year unlike any other. I'm not even going to try and talk about 2020 because I think we've all lived through it. But here we are at the beginning of a very new year energetically. And every new year brings with it the possibility for rebirth, sure. But there's something very different that happened on December 21st, 2020. It doesn't mean that the outer world is going to look too different for at least the first 3 or 4 months of the year. But once we get through March and into the beginning of April, it allows the possibility of outer transformation in the circumstances that many of us have been living in, which for many of us has been restricted experiences compared to what we're used to. The benefit of that experience is it has allowed a lot of us to consciously and unconsciously shed those layers and go deep within with who we're here to be, what we're here to do on the planet. So that's my next message. Cultivate who and how you want to be in the next few years. So January, February, really spend some time like, who and how do I want to be on the planet in the next few years? Not necessarily what do I want to see in the outside world, because what you want to see in the outside world, you are creating and contributing to through the way that you're showing up. Like many of you, I'm sure, I've had many moments, especially in the last few months of 2020, where it was like, at times, because I too am like purging a lot of the stuff that is no longer coming with us. But one of the things that my guides, the Z's, have talked to me over and over again about, and they spoke about this, I channeled them in the annual energy update that I'm talking about. So again, check the link under the video if you want to watch that 90-minute free workshop. They talked about how we are creating the future. So especially if you go into victim mode about what you're seeing in the world, which by the way is quite legitimate because everybody, has gone through all kinds of ups and downs this year. But if you stay there and if you start telling the story from there, you are no longer contributing to the new on the planet. And they've talked about how important it is that we recognize we are here creating the future of the earth as a group, while we are seeing dismantling and fighting going on in our systems, and there is a lot of flux in those systems. So if you have it in your head that X person or Y person is doing X or Y or Z, that's a very black and white way of looking at things. I'm not saying there might not be truth in elements of the way that you're seeing the world, but what they keep talking about is while you are alive, while we are alive, we have the opportunity to become something new and create something new. So write down on a list, who and how do I want to be in the world in the years to come? And what might that give to the planet, to others, to the people you know and love, to the people you don't know but that you're willing to love anyway? Because we're going to be each other's brother and sisterhood in the years to come. More than ever before, the other thing they talked about a lot is the rise of community spirit. Now, this has been going on for several years, and you've seen it in different ways. You can probably attest to it for yourself internally and externally, but they said that this decade, we're going to see a lot more of that togetherness. There is already much more of a psychic collective thread than there has ever been on the planet before. And interestingly, us being taken away from each other in terms of how we could interact has actually only strengthened that. So what you're going to be experiencing, those of you who are aware of, oh yeah, I am more intuitive and more visionary and having more experiences where I'm feeling like I can feel the future, I can work with the future, I can play with the future. The future can be some clay for me. You will notice that the creative energy is brewing in you now and is going to be very strong, not only this year, but in all the years to come. The other message they were talking about in the live, the energy update, the annual, was they talked about the importance of collaboration and creativity, but to not worry too much about making things happen now. They said you're going to be upgrading and taking in more and more creative and creator energy as the months go on. And those of you who are thinking, well, I don't create anything in the world, number one, you might want to try, but number two, I should be clear that we're creating each other. The way that we influence each other in a conversation is creative. If I say something that enhances or challenges you or your life or impacts you in a negative way, I've created an experience with you that has now left an imprint on you, however large or small. So we're all creating all of the time, but we're going to need and see in the coming decade more and more creative innovations around business, around leadership, around the way that we form as a group, the way that we reform and the way that we form. So it's going to be a very interesting decade, but I think the most important thing I can share with you today was this deep message of As much as you can, go quiet in January or February and really go internal to really drink of this energy that's coming in. The other theme is hold your center and or hold it for others. So you might be someone who's like, oh my God, this is way too chaotic for me. I'm way too triggered by everything I'm going through. I can't stand this anymore. That's really annoying me. You're going to really need to figure out how to come back to your center. You're going to need to find tools, people, community that can help you reset. It's going to be very important because the chaos that we're seeing in the world is not going to go away this year. This is a 3-4 year period that we're in that's a real flux where the old stuff that used to hold us is no longer holding us and is moving and changing and trying to hold on, but not going to be able to hold on no matter how hard it tries. But it will try, and it will try hard over the next 2 or 3 years. So that chaos response that we see in the collective and that we feel in ourselves, our own mind, our own patterns, our own emotions, it's contagious. So you might need to really dig deep to hold your own center, or you might have already been doing that work over the last few years and you're like, you know what? I'm kind of doing okay. I kind of know how to bring myself back. This is going to be a time for you to really enjoy giving that energy to others. Not through sacrifice, not through overcompensating, not through burning yourself out trying to heal everybody else, just through recognizing, oh, I've generated a core of energy here. I've generated a good feeling. I've generated the ability to peacefully smile at someone who I see in the grocery store who is clearly scared, is clearly running the fear program that is very contagious on earth right now and very debilitating to us. When we are put into fear, when we are told to be in fear, when we are told things that put us in the fear response, we start to lose all our creative power and all our sovereignty. So you might be a lighthouse out there for others. And we do that in so many ways. You know, we do that just with a look, just with a smile, or we do that with practically helping someone with something, or we do that by giving someone a hug when we can. So I know that there's all kinds of restrictions right now around certain things that we used to do, but we can find ways to connect through that, and it's really important that we do. So holding your center and or holding it for others is going to be a big theme for many of you in the first 2 or 3 months. But the most important thing is to recognize the joy of being able to do that for others, and how alive and how present that feels when it's in you and coming through you and you're a conduit for it. That's a really connective moment, and heart coherence is all over that kind of experience where you're sharing your energy, sharing your love, sharing your knowledge, whatever it is, sharing. The chaos is a dismantling. It's very easy for us when we look through our human eyes and our human history and our human patterns to look at the chaos in the world right now and to not like it, to be upset by it, to be triggered by it. But on a soul level, the chaos is a major dismantling that has been a long time coming, a long time forecast, and it's going to take a while. It's going to be slow. Now, if you're hearing me say that going, oh God, I can't take any more, you're going to have to. But more importantly, you're going to have to learn how to not be so in response to it. You may have got your nervous system all entangled with a person or a group of people who are really processing a lot of the darkness and the heaviness. Or you yourself might be choosing to focus only on the darkness and the heaviness. Life is always a wave, and there is the energy of life and the energy of death constantly coming at us while we're on this planet. And it's really important to find what lights you up and to find that moment, because it is going to be a slow process, this dismantling. But if you remember that, and if you were able to go, okay, yep, there's some crazy stuff going on in the world, and if I'm expecting the world to look like it did 10, 20, 30 years ago, I'm not going to get what I want. But if I'm willing to look at what can I do today, who can I be today, who can I help today, what can I receive today, what can I be grateful for today, and can I remember that today I'm alive? And that in itself is the miracle. You see, as a soul, we know that to be in a human body having a human experience is not promised. We're here today, we can be gone tomorrow. And when you come back to that vantage point, you start to recognize, oh, the preciousness of what you've got, or you start to go, wow, life is more precious than the circumstances and the relationships I've created for myself. I need to spend the next few months figuring out how I can slowly but surely improve my life and my experience of my life. The good news is when you do that for you, you do it for others. You hold a frequency of transformation for others. So if you're feeling a little triggered by our transforming world, I would encourage you to really surrender to the next layer of transformation in and for and of yourself. Because as you go through that and you let go of whatever it is you're holding on to or in fight with, it will start to get easier for your soul to breathe again. And that energy that we all have when we're little kids, we come in and that's a fairly uninterrupted soul connection for normally at least that first 3 to 7 years for most of us before we get socialized and we put on the human collective suit that we were asked to put on by the old world's way of doing things. That's a very uncomfortable suit these days because of the level of consciousness now on the planet. It will feel like you're in the wrong outfit if you aren't connecting up and allowing your life force to come through you and allowing your presence to be here. And if you like the sound of what I'm saying, but you know you're far away from that right now, it's okay. We've all been there and we may be there again. That's the waves of life. You have a dark night of the soul and then you come back bigger and brighter than ever. Many of us can attest to those deep dives that take you down, that you then come back out reborn. So don't worry if that's where you are right now, but make an intention to really shift things for yourself this year. Really take January and February to lean into that question, who and how you want to be in the next few years. Okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We are doing Rebirth 2021. Many of you who've been with me for several years, you'll know that we annually do a program called Rebirth in January. And this year, especially because Transmissions, which we did in August, was so potent, I'm not only doing every class live, although of course replays will be available, I'm actually channeling in each class as well because the information that's been coming through the guides lately has been really potent and important for what's going on now. So Rebirth is a little different this year, but I'm happy to say Stephen Washington, my wonderful husband, who is an amazing Qigong teacher, an amazing wellness teacher, is going to be also leading a live class, and it runs from January the 19th to the 29th. We'll play you a little trailer for Rebirth if you want to learn more about it in just a few minutes. Those of you in my portal community, the MP3 this month is Your Voice and How It Creates Your Future. It's a channeling and a sound healing. It's an hour long, and that's the MP3. And there are so many different experiences that Portal members get, including my monthly 90-minute broadcast, where I also take questions and meditations and Qigong from Stephen. So check out theportal.world if you would like to get closer to the work that I bring and my team bring and have that be a support for you in the year to come. It's a monthly membership, but you can cancel anytime. So if you want to try it, check out theportal.world and this month's MP3, which is Your Voice and How It Creates Your Future. That will also be available in my store. And last but not least, if you would like some healing music to listen to, a few weeks ago, Davor Bozic and myself released a healing album called Awaken. It's tuned to the frequency of 528 hertz, which is a healing frequency. It's transformational music. We're so delighted with how many of you have been enjoying it and telling us how much you're enjoying it. Thank you. And you can stream it at Spotify, Apple Music, or you can get a CD, a vinyl. We also have some cool items in our store at awakenalbum.com. But for now, here is the Rebirth trailer so that you can experience it for yourself. Thank you for subscribing and lots of love, everyone. Take care and see you next month. Rebirth has been an annual transformation program that I and my team offer every January for the last 4 years. This year, Rebirth 2021 will be quite different to prior years because 2020 was very different to prior years in general as a whole for all of us. So a couple of things came to me for Rebirth 2021. I wanted to deliver all of the modules live. Prior years, we have done a lot of pre-recorded material, but this year, everything will be delivered live, and then there will be full replays available within 24 hours of the live broadcast. My guides, the Z's, are going to be a huge part of this year's Rebirth. We held transmissions in August, and it was an incredible experience, and it was allowing my guides to bring through the next level of information. And one of the themes that they have talked about for 2021 and beyond is us becoming more creators of our lives. They're talking about how we create our lives every day through our energy, and also how we can take different actions to animate our sense of purpose, our sense of connection to life, but also the life and the world that we're creating right now, and how important that is in the years to come. So Rebirth 2021 will have that focus as its main theme, next level creation. And then across each broadcast, we're going to look at creating from a metaphysical and a grounded standpoint. Stephen Washington will again be bringing his work to Rebirth. So there will be a module called Activating Your Creative Body. And as soon as you sign up, you will receive the channeled audio MP3 and sound healing, which is called Creating Through Chaos and Being Here for Love. We can't wait to get started with you. The program begins on January 19th, and you will have lifetime access to the material once we have finished on January 29th. So if you're looking for a rebirth or to up-level your way of creating in your life, we would love to have you join us for Rebirth 2021. You can visit rebirth2021.com or my website, leeharrisenergy.com, for all the details.